Turning 18 is a very big moment in one's life. It is a very big milestone that's normally cause for a huge celebration. However, for some, turning 18 can be a very devastating event. Foster care is not something anyone wants to be a part of. However, leaving foster care once you turn 18 isn't something everyone looks forward to either. I know many people who are in foster care and have heard many first-hand stories about their experience. Not many people know the real facts about foster care and what goes on and what problems most kids are facing. That's why there should be more organizations and programs for kids who age out of foster care. One main reason there needs to be more organizations for kids who age out of foster care is because a lot of kids can be led down the wrong path when they don't have the right guidance and assistance. Most kids in foster care aren't taken care of very well, and don't get much one-on-one experience with someone who gets to know them on a personal and individual level. A lot of foster kids are always grouped together and don't be seen as an individual person. This really affects their self-worth and motivation, which can lead them down the wrong path. According to social risk media, 1 out of every 2 kids who age out of the system will develop substance independence. This means half of the kids who age out of foster care without being placed will end up addicted to a substance or independent on a substance. If there were more programs and organizations, there would be more help for these kids, and they wouldn't rely on substance abuse. If there were more organizations, kids could have somewhere to stay and try to get clean. Another reason that they could be led down the wrong path is a lot of the kids who age out of foster care are actually more likely to be arrested. Jason Barron of the Column says more placed were arrested by the age of 19. This means that a lot of the foster care kids who didn't find a place to live before turning 18 were more likely to be arrested. The kids didn't have a real role model to help them, so they often went down the wrong path. More organizations and programs could help teach kids the right way to live, and they would be much better off and probably live a much better life. Kids are also not taught to take care of themselves in foster care, and those who age out are never really taught how to take care of themselves the right way. This can cause a very big lack of education. Social race media reveals statistics that for children who have not aged out of foster care, less than 3% chance for them to earn a degree. And the National Foster Youth Institution declares that for foster youth, the financial resources, mentorship, support, stability, and guidance needed to complete post-secondary education or training programs are not common. When there are organizations and programs set in place, these kids could have much more help, such as tutoring programs, after-school help, and homework help that the kids who are in foster care don't have, as opposed to kids who might get this help from home. Kids aren't also taught how to take care of themselves in the foster system, which can lead to homelessness once they get removed. Out of the 18-year-olds that age out, up to 40% of them will face homelessness, St. Augustine Services states. Because of the lack of availability of places to stay, when the kids are thrown out when they're 18, they have nowhere to go. Organizations that are specifically used to be able to help the kids who age out would give them a place to stay, shelter, and different programs and classes that could teach them how to use money, how to save money, and how to get money so they could afford somewhere to stay. 18-year-olds cannot really save up a lot of money to have a permanent residence. Most places you can't even work full-time until you're 18, so before that, there's not many options to save up money to live somewhere. And due to school, they don't have much time to work, so even if they were to get multiple jobs, they wouldn't have very many options because they wouldn't have enough time to work. Another reason that foster kids need more organizations and programs catered to them before they age out is because they really just aren't old enough to live on their own. Our brain isn't done developing when we hit 18 years old, but it's done developing about 3 years after. Evidence, according to Duke Express, there is no clear evidence that the brain does not mature that the brain matures fully until about 24. One of the areas that does mature late is the prefrontal cortex, the area important in impulse control, risk-taking behavior, and judgment. So, when the foster kids are thrown out because they've aged out, their brain isn't even fully developed yet, especially in areas that contribute to judgment, risk-taking behaviors. So kids are expected to just be able to live on their own when they're not even capable of making smart decisions because their brain is not fully developed. Even though they're classified as an adult, their brain doesn't agree with that. Kids are also not taught to take care of themselves, and they're not ready to take care of themselves because they actually don't have access to a lot of resources that they need to live. What I mean by this is when they're 18 and out on the street after they age out, they can't get like simple things like cars, hotel rooms if they need somewhere to stay, or anything like that. According to the Law Dictionary and Hotel Chantel, in most places, those who are 18 aren't legally old enough to rent a vehicle or book a hotel room. Because of this also relates to the homelessness. They don't have anywhere to stay. Because 18-year-olds aren't old enough to rent a hotel room, if they needed somewhere to stay due to not having a place, or if there was a storm or bad weather, they wouldn't be able to get a hotel room. And a lot of 18-year-olds don't have the money to get a permanent residence. So this is a pretty big deal that could leave them on the street. And in places where you can be 18 and get a hotel room, most of the time you need a parent or guardian with you. And for the vehicle thing, in most states you have to be at least 21, and in even more, you have to be at least 25. This makes no sense because even though kids are classified as an adult, they still don't have the capability to do adult things. When there are more resources set in place for the kids who age out, they will have a much better time and be much better off. They'll get more help with education. They'll be less likely to get addicted to any substances. They'll be less likely to get arrested. They will have somewhere to stay no matter what. They will never be on the street, especially at a young age. And it just makes much more sense for them to have help instead of just being kicked out. So the next time you meet somebody who's in the foster system and reaching that age where they might be kicked out, you should really take into consideration their situation and see if there's anything that you can do to help them out.